champion extensively, playing against it is an entirely different story. It's an entirely different set of knowledge that you need to have, but it's not so easy to come by, I think, in this day and age.
Oh, absolutely not. This is something that RAISY does not have ample practice with whatsoever. And there is also something that kind of worries me in this matchup when it comes to RAISY. He's running Doomslayer, which means that he is going to have very little use of that active ability. He's going to be leaving a ton of hourglasses strewn around the map, which means that they will almost always go to Sip, allowing him to almost constantly have that shield at the ready and continuously decrease the timer before he can pop it again. So RAISY, not sure how he's going to deal with it. Is he going to be popping that Berserk a bit more proactively just to get away, maybe just to burn some hourglasses when he feels like it's safe? Because if he doesn't, then Sip is just going to have that shield available pretty much from start to finish. But on that note, we are loading into the very first map of this series. We've got RAISY, we've got Sip, kicking it off on RAISY's point of view.
Now, I'll be checking things out from Sibs because I'm curious to see what kind of start he looks at. Now, he doesn't get the side that has rail. One thing that people will often notice about Sib is that he is incredibly rail focused. And when that confidence is on deck, his rail can look pretty phenomenal, I have to say. But against RAISY, that's just going to be one piece of a intricate puzzle. But already, RAISY's been able to do a decent chunk of damage, but with that shield in mind every step of the way. No matter how much damage you've done to this clutch, when that shield gets popped, it can be an entirely different story. But for now, Sib looking for the items, not looking to fight just yet. Not really able to get any damage either. RAISY with the instant denial, but there's the first rail. Unfortunately for Sib, that rail will be returned, and now the only armor left to take, a rather predictable one near Banana.
RAISY so far focusing on a very rail-heavy playstyle. He knows that if he gets caught out in the wrong place at the wrong time and Sib drops on him, popping that shield, he can be in so much trouble. So instead he's trying to keep his distance and do consistent railgun damage, but he is in trouble. Four in a row! From down below, Sib making the most of the low ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down goes RAISY. The American player already one frag up.
That's just the rail. This is now 5 rails back to back, and the shield wall is already back and good to go. However, bit of a mismanage in that fight as RAISY pushes on and is still able to secure. But that kind of goes back on what we discussed, right? Where if there is no Berserk being used, these hourglasses are going to just have Clutch's name on it. Sib already had another one.
Good positioning from RAISY there too, knowing very well that he can keep going for these risky rail shots, because even if Sib lands a shot as well, he's got the resources to stack back up. First he had the heavy armor, now he has these 2 health bubbles as well as the small, whereas there's next to nothing available for Sib. So RAISY is being very calculated in the timing and positioning at which he takes those fights, always ready to loop back around and secure most of the stack to get himself back in fighting shape.
I'm kind of liking where RAISY is on the map too. Like Sib is consistently spawning on the, I will say, wrong side of the map, not being able to pick up a rail, and that rail absolutely being his star weapon already. It was the skeleton key for that one and only frag that Sib's been able to pick up so far. I think that's also going to be an element here. RAISY's going to want to hit rails against Sib, but at the same time keep the rail away from him. The second you do, you shut down his utility considerably. This is very much a kind of anti-Sib play so far, and the bait knows that Sib cannot resist but take the rail. But how much damage is he going to take as a reward, I guess? A vast majority of it.
Indeed, Sib finally securing that railgun, but at a sizable cost too. RAISY definitely did most of the damage in that engagement, now his positioning on Mega as well. And we're starting to see a larger discrepancy in control of the major items. RAISY 10 pickups of Mega and the Heavy, whereas Sib trailing behind at just 3 of those. This helping out RAISY tremendously, because he is of course outstacked by default going up against the Heavy champion. And now LG on LG, Sib pops the shield, goes for the rockets. More damage with slightly less consistency, and it will work out in RAISY's favor. Switching to the super shotgun. This is of course a tremendously effective weapon when you're dealing with an opponent with a hitbox the size of Clutch.
But this is a massive element of this matchup that RAISY's putting forward. The fights are breaking out in situations where Sib's got the stack, Sib's got the shield wall. In so many positions, a player would go, right, I got this in the bag, but this is RAISY. RAISY with a disgusting level of LG, and pretty much every weapon at this point. But he knows that if he hits these shots, he can still do considerable damage in these fights, more so than what Sib can rock. And at this point, just catching him on the wrong side of town, I think. Sib not going to use the shield wall right there, not going to be worth it in a fight that he probably can't win. However, now as we enter the 5-minute mark, 30 seconds away, Sib is seeming to struggle quite a lot here. RAISY is just playing this matchup flawlessly.
Definitely agree with what you said earlier. Sib hanging on to that shield ability was the smart choice. He knew that he got caught off guard with no real weapons to fight at that range, so instead of using the shield and dying with it, he just holds on to it, preventing another frag of the spawn. Clever, calculated decision making, as the game is definitely starting to slow down now. RAISY gets a neat tickle of LG. Too bad he still had to switch to the weapon, otherwise he probably could have pushed Sib off the map, but of course he didn't want to hold it out, as it makes a hum, a noise that alerts your opponent of your position. And now RAISY has got such a clean lockdown on both of these major items, cycling them perfectly and also keeping a really good track of where his opponent is at.
The ambush is dropped, but again, Sib activating that shield wall in a position where it's not going to do much. No, RAISY. Okay, when the gauntlet comes out, we know what's up. We know what's up. However, Sib is getting some really good damage. However, not able to stop RAISY from taking the heavy, as that will allow him to push forward up that jump pad and just completely shut it down right as he uses the air dash. He gets hit by a rail. That's got to feel bad, man.
You can have all the starting stack in the world. The empty void, the cold dead waters of Ro16, they don't care. That is an instant kill no matter what. So RAISY now on an absolute monstrosity of an assault, not missing a beat. The rail is on 50% LG, 55% railgun accuracy. Rockets hardly being used this game by either of these players. It's really been all about the LG. Especially if we look at Sib. Sib has done 1600 damage. 1200 of it has been with just the railgun. He really is just trying to go for these long distance fights. But that is not working out in his favor, and much of that has to do with how excellent RAISY has been at controlling this map. Sib just doesn't really have any opportunities to get up close and personal and use that shield the way that is most effective.
In a lot of cases, when the shield gets popped, it's not been because Sib is the one that's, I think, dictating the pace. It's been, we bump into each other, I'm point blank, it kind of feels like I have to use the shield wall, and it's not enough to win the fight at all. RAISY keeping Sib on the end of a string. So often we see Clutch dismantle people in Pro League. But at the same time, when the clutch doesn't work out, it's because the opponent is just able to, for lack of a better term, just put a lid on it. Able to contain the chaotic nature of this champion. RAISY, is he going to be able to get another one? The shield wall survives, but the missed rail. And that's the kind of missed rail that I think will just frustrate. There's not much Sib can do to win this map, given the circumstances. 2.5 minutes left to go, and there's 10 frags, and still going behind. But that kind of rail, you at least want to be able to get any frag you can in this situation.
RAISY has just been oppressive. I think that's one of the best ways of putting it. Sib just has no place to go, has zero opportunities to use the shield in a way that actually favors him. Whenever he pops it, indeed, it just appears to be him buying a few more seconds before dying nevertheless, and RAISY is so on top of everything. The item control. Sib currently 4 major items versus RAISY's 27. That is an obscene difference. And Sib is just struggling so much, and as we're entering the final 2 minutes, time really is ticking out. Sib needs to start stringing together an incredible series of frags, but with this level of control that RAISY is displaying, it just seems almost impossible.
It's one of the things that makes Clutch, I think, one of the most unusual champions in the competitive roster, because when he works, it looks like he's completely unstoppable. But at the same time, when he gets behind, when he's against someone that will hit every single shot known to man, and at the same time is able to force those positions where what Clutch can do so well just doesn't work, it doesn't serve much of a purpose, he looks completely helpless. Like, we reached, even before we hit that halfway point, you look at it and think, what can Sib even do at this stage? RAISY is hitting everything. RAISY is soaking up most of the items, and when Sib has a fight forced onto him, it's not one that he's in control of, and because of that, the damage, he still gets out damaged, even though. And it's a tricky position to come back from. A dominant map 1, completely one-sided. Uh-oh.
The Berserk still comes out to play at the very end.
Until it is done, my dude.
But indeed, Sib, if I'm not mistaken, got the very first frag of the map. That's all that he's gotten to work with. RAISY just constantly shutting him down, and I think that Sib already has to start thinking about map 2, which is of course Molten Falls. He's going to be playing the Death Knight against RAISY's Anarchy, because this one is over and done with. And I hope that this doesn't get to Sib, right? We discussed this shortly yesterday as well. Sib is a bit of an emotional player, and that means that if things go his way, provides him an incredible boost, a lot of momentum, and it just seems like he can be unstoppable. But when they don't, and these mistakes, they start piling up, and RAISY is just everywhere it seems, then that can have a serious negative effect and a blow to his confidence too.
And that will be a one-sided map 1. It's 15-2, and that is that. Ooh, just looking at the item differences too. Sib, as Clutch, a champion who is so used to being able to strong arm and bully their way across the map. 3 heavies, 4 megas. And that's it. The control was not his, the damage was not his, the pace didn't belong to him. Nothing was on his side, and I feel it's almost fitting that one of the only frags that Sib was able to land there came from, I gotta say, a thoroughly impressive display of those 4 rails back to back. But they're the kind of frags that don't come often. Being able to get that first frag is great, but what you can do with it afterwards is another story. Every frag that you're likely to see now in this replay is going to be, look, bam, the fight happens, Sib uses a shield to survive and prolong the fight, but there's so much chaos in the fight that he's sticking to these guns like rails and stuff like that, not able to hit the shots, while all the time RAISY is just going bam, 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 just relentlessly sticking to you. And it was that for a good 10 minutes, to be honest.
I mean, that example you gave, it always reminds me of the case of Rafa versus Klaus way back PGL 2018 on Molten Falls. Klaus just hitting 4, 5 vertical rails in a row, and Rafa afterwards in the interview, he was just like, you know, you gotta let that happen. There's nothing you can do about it. Just take the hits, take the punches, roll with them, and just play the longer, consistent game. Yes, those things are going to happen. Yes, they are annoying when you're on the receiving end, but they cannot keep that up for the entirety of the match, and that's exactly what we saw here as well. Sib ultimately unable to withstand the pressure that RAISY applied after that opening minute or two, so a good effort still. But as we are getting ready to set up the next map, just a quick update. The first map that we just saw was on the American server, right? So this was the server in Sib's favor, and now we're switching over to an EU one.
And on that note, the matchup that's been put before us, so it's Molten Falls, Anarchy versus Death Knight. Sib rocking the Death Knight. Now this does, because it's Molten Falls, you kind of have an immediate game plan put forward where Death Knight is an ambush champion, and that's very much what he has become. He was already kind of that before, but the second this patch has rolled out and now the Flame Strike is a million times better than it once was, it's totally transformed that one thing that he did well, and it just makes it even better. But now we have a wide out in the open map. We have an Anarchy who has not only the good movement, but the air control movement, and these positions where Death Knight can knock you up and put you in these situations where you're stuck. Air control totally changes that. Very similar to a way that getting knocked up by a rocket is less punishing for Anarchy. You would think that being knocked up by Flame Strike is a very similar kind of exchange, and also the existence of the injection. I'm curious to see whether RAISY is going to be using it just passively to build that stack up, or whether against Death Knight, where he faces damage over time, is the injection going to be used as almost a counter?
Indeed, it's a good question, and one that we're about to see answered. Map 2, this is a best of 3, so keep in mind that if Sib loses this one, he will be dropping down into the lower bracket. So we're starting off on RAISY's point of view. I'm expecting RAISY to hone his map awareness to an extreme extent because, like you said, Death Knight and the traps, any corner he rounds, his opponent might be just lying in wait, ready to spring that ability to do a tremendous amount of damage. Yep. 20 seconds into the map, and Sib's already doing exactly what we talked about.
But I tell you what I like, that we're 20 seconds in and RAISY already knows that's what's happening. That corridor is, you know, surely you sit there and think, if I was in that situation, I'd probably wait around that corner as well. And he didn't overextend. He hesitated for a split second. He knows that Sib can hear him coming. He does nothing. Guess what? Sib comes around the corner and he's at no range to make anything happen. Tries to force his way onto Mega and pays the iron price for it. We're 1 minute in and 1 frag already for RAISY. Lovely rail to start things off, but the rail is all he has and RAISY knows it.
Oh, now some good shots coming out from Sip again, but it is RAISY who clutches it through. And now you're starting to see RAISY's long-term plan come into fruition, right? He deliberately delayed Mega at the start by a pretty extreme degree, waited around 15 seconds before picking it up. Nice. And that allows him to nicely tie them together, but that didn't go quite as planned. I think he got a little bit of a bad bounce right at the bounce pad there, and it allows Sip to finish him off with the shotgun. Still early days. Sip, plenty of room to make a comeback, just 1 frag of a difference.
Heavy has been taken by RAISY. Injection on hand. Sib's going to know that, so funnily enough, I think he is the one that's going to have to be quite careful here. The rail game engaged, and now there's very little access to armor around here. Heavy was just taken. There is a light near him, and it has spawned. Sib waiting around. But how much of the map does he give up just waiting for that light to come back? RAISY has taken the Mega, and now 5 seconds from Heavy, and he's already in position! There's no way he was prepared for him to come all the way around there. Like, he was not even half looking in that direction.
RAISY so fast, and those air control champions, his movement is on point. Wow.
No!
Ketchup, this is the kind of stuff you usually see in the last minute or two when RAISY plays. We're 2 minutes into the game, and he's already going for the pummels like that. RAISY, zero chill today. He's come out to play. Once more, Sip will drop another frag as RAISY neatly loops together a heavy pickup. Oh, here we go, a little bit of a trap.
Oh, but he's jumping around the corner, the air control champions. This is an element of the matchup I was a little bit concerned about for Sib, is that Anarchy's not the kind of champion that you can just kind of, you can get a good situation where, right, I've got an ambush, good to go, but there's such a high chance that he's in the middle of a strafe jump or whatever it is, that he's airborne already. What are you going to do? Like, you can't knock him down, he's already airborne. You hit him with a rocket, he'll just fly past you.
Yeah, it's not as if you're playing someone like, say, Galena, where you trap her and she's got nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. This is Anarchy. He's got the injection, he's got the speed. And you can very easily tell how RAISY...
That was a good choice as well. Yeah, I love that rocket jump.
RAISY is just not slowing down. The only time you see him in the same room for more than a few seconds is when he's taking these kinds of fights. Other than that, he's constantly moving out and about. Just
I like that choice too, though, Flea. One of the safest rocket jumps he can go for, because he knows that Sib has spawned near rocket. He only has a rocket launcher. Your chances of hitting mid-air against an Anarchy that is mid-rocket jump is kind of low, slim at best. Yeah. RAISY gets that frag again, and this is looking a little bit one-sided.
Things are getting out of hand for Sib, and rapidly so. He might be able to drop himself on Mega. Oh my god, RAISY! He's just styling right now.
Man's having fun.
Not an easy jump to pull off. That could have very easily gone completely wrong, but RAISY is just absolutely flexing and showing why he is one of the absolute best, not just in Europe, but in the entire world.
Doesn't want to give Sib an opportunity. He's peeking around the corner. Oh, prepared for the teleporter though. Still railable, but he's out of there. And with the health at his disposal on top of a Mega, he wants to push forward first. A little bit of bonus damage potentially, but he wants to get the Mega. That's a lot more important. But this is an element of RAISY I love to watch. It's why he's one of my favorite players to watch in competitive. He just has fun in the middle of these matches. He tries to keep things, you know, he doesn't have fun at the expense of positioning or whatever it is, but when the gauntlets come out, when he starts doing these crazy rocket jumps or whatever, he actively, you can just tell that he loves doing it. He has a whale of a time doing it. And if you're having a great time and you're in a good mood and spirits are high, you can be more free-flowing sometimes. And if you're comfortable and free-flowing, then you can arguably play the best you've ever played.
Indeed, RAISY seems to be completely relaxed. Sip just has no way into this game. But look at the aggression from RAISY. it's just Sib has the high ground. RAISY don't care. He's just gonna rocket jump right at you time and time again. He's absolutely giving zero respect to Sib with the positional advantage. He just goes for it, chaining together beautiful shots. Once more reading the spawn perfectly, catching Sib, but can't quite connect with the gauntlet. Resorts to the shoddy to finish it off. The result will nevertheless be the same. RAISY first to hit the double-digit frag score today.
And all Sib's going to have here is a rail, so RAISY's pretty confident, I think, in this situation. And the frag that we saw previously, the one near Mega, there's been such a gap between these two items. At the moment Sib jumped down to Mega and decided that, right, I'm too early, I need to get out because he's clearly going to be here. It was too late, and RAISY's just been controlling every ounce of this map so far that Sib looks pretty lost. Nice red. Oh, nearly, not quite.
Kept a single toe within the arena and somehow pulled himself right back up by his bootstraps. Sib, not out for the count just yet, but he's got a monumental task ahead of him. Does pick up heavy, gets himself a Mega 2. But the problem is that even if he regains control, he has to chase down a champion who is so much faster than his. There's absolutely no way he's going to just catch RAISY repeatedly in any other way than by setting up these traps. And we've already seen how good RAISY has been at avoiding that kind of damage. Just the rails, they keep coming. They're not going to stop. RAISY 47% rail, 44% LG. And the gauntlets, RAISY has done nearly 200 points of damage with the gauntlet alone.
I think that fight was quite a fitting display of this matchup too, that RAISY he doesn't fear the flame strike at all. He was using the injection specifically after the frag just to put himself out. Looks like he's just had a masterclass of how to deal with it on this map alone, and
yeah.
This is a point of the map now where if RAISY wanted to, he could just run away for 2 minutes. It's not his style to do so, especially right now. I think he's going to probably go for a few more cheeky highlight reel moments, but this is his map without question. There's surely nothing Sib can do at this stage, and this has been as much of a one-sided display as I think a lot of people were expecting, but at the same time, RAISY, I mean, guy's clearly on form and could go all the way in this tournament this weekend.
He is looking good. We've seen some shoddy, or at least inconsistent performances of him towards the beginning of some of the previous stage finals, but this is nothing like that. Of course, he is playing one of the challengers who only just made it back into the Quake Pro League, so it's not as if he's taking on Rafa right now. But this is nevertheless a very strong showing by RAISY. The aim's on point, the timing, the movement, the strategy. It is borderline flawless. And Sib is the one paying the price.
Should be another easy pickup. Ooh, the shotgun. No, watch out! Oh, he gets the rocket on deck just in case. I mean, a safe rocket for sure, and Sib, at this point, just needs to get some frags. But there's not much he can do now. 1 minute left to go as RAISY does the minute of victory lap. He's already got the gauntlet out, the injections ready to rock as well. This is a scary combination. Can he get one more gauntlet frag? I think we're all keeping an eye on it. Oh god, he's got it out again. Look out. Uh-oh. Ouch.
Yeah, this is done and dusted. RAISY will be the one to walk away victoriously. Convincingly so. I like that Sib is at least trying to get back at him somewhat, putting some gauntlet damage on the board of his own.
Like, dude, mine's on fire. You can't compete.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though, the fire effect of the gauntlet. Oh, RAISY staying within bounds.
But they just keep trading it, so it's not even like Sib can get the last laugh. They just trade it out. But RAISY, both of those maps are absolutely dominant, and a huge part of that map alone just came from, wow, again, looking at those endgame stats, even ignoring the damage, even ignoring the weapon usage,